Am I live? Am I live? Isn't it exciting? Tuesday night. Is there going to be anyone watching? Who knows? The little eyeballs come up and it says 0 people. But I usually do it on a Wednesday. But because I've got plans for tomorrow, I'm doing it on a Tuesday. It's exciting, isn't it? One person's there. Hello, whoever's watching. Thank you for joining. It's been an incredible couple of days in Berlin, actually. Sunny, bright. It is truly astonishing. I have never been in a city where there is such a stark difference between summer and winter. Oh, they've gone. Did I offend you talking about the weather? Sea call. I've never seen a city that is so starkly different. And I went out today and I was in the sun and it was 25 degrees. It was just glorious. And people are moaning that it's warm, but it's going down 10 degrees tomorrow. And it's just so pleasant to be taken out of the winter. Well, hello, welcome to the live stream. What am I going to be doing tonight? I'm going to play some songs. I got a song by The Cure. I got a song by Amy Winehouse. I got a song by Elvis Costello. It's all good stuff. I'm going to talk a bit about 5G4D, what we've got coming up for the rest of the month and things. I'm going to answer some of the viewers' questions. I got some questions. If you've got any questions, pop them into the chat. But I solicited some questions from the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, go to 5g4d.com, click on the pinned post, and there's a link there that'll take you to the Discord. You can join the Discord, and it'll be amazing. And you know what I mean? I'm just seeing if I've got any more questions from the Discord. I don't think I have. There's a big row on the Discord at the moment over loads of stuff. Currently, there's a big row about if you're apolitical, are you fine with the status quo? I'm fine with status quo. Whatever you want. My beard's very grey, isn't it? I think it's time to tame this beard, or maybe dye it. Yeah. So, welcome 5G4D stream. It is warm here. I'm warm in here. I'll tell you what I'll do. I love those 7 chords. This song I'm just about to play is all 7 chords. In the verse, at least. But they're hard to play on. The F7 is hard to play on an acoustic guitar. I'm putting it out there. But there it is. All right, so I'm going to play a song, and then hopefully some more people will rock up. And if not, isn't it? All right. So this is a song by Amy Winehouse. Because the move is out, I was just thinking about it. And I never really listened to Amy Winehouse when she was alive. And I kind of regret it. She was just famous and poppy, and I didn't do chart stuff at the time. I still don't do chart stuff, obviously. I mean, charts are kind of dead now, aren't they? But I regret it because absolutely astonishing voice, and the lyrics are really good. I like goth stuff. Anyway, so it's a song by Amy Winehouse. They tried to make me go to rehab, and I said no, no, no. Yes, I've been black, but when I come back, you'll know, no, no. I ain't got the time, and if my daddy thinks I'm fine, he's trying to make me go to rehab, and I won't go, go, go. I'd rather be at home with Ray. I ain't got 70 days. 'Cause there's nothing you can teach me that I can learn from Mr. Hathaway. I didn't get along in class, but I know it don't come in a shot glass. They try to make me go to rehab, and I said no, no, no. mine. You try to make me go to rehab, and I won't go, go, go. The man said, why'd you think you're here? I said, I got no idea. I'm gonna lose my baby. So I always keep a bottle near. He said, I just think you're depressed. It's me, yeah, baby, and the rest. They try to make me go to rehab, and I said, no, no, no. What am I playing that wrong? Yes, I've been black, and when I come back, you know, no, no. I don't ever want to drink again. Oh, I just need a friend. I'm not gonna spend 10 weeks. Now everyone think I'm on the man, and it's not just my pride. It's just till this tears have dried. They're trying to make me go to rehab, and I said no, no, no. Yes, I've been black, and when I come back, you know, no, no. I ain't got the time, and my daddy thinks I'm fine. Trying to make me go to rehab, and I won't go, go, go. Trying to make me go to rehab, and I won't go, go, go. I'm not a guitar player, am I? Bless me, my little cotton socks. Anyway, welcome. Yay, not on a Wednesday, so Karthik can join. And Karthik's been very complimentary. So, thank you. So, 5G4D, what is happening on 5G4D in the upcoming months? So, next 5G4D interview, which is on Monday, is with Trevor Benjamin, co-designer of Undaunted and many other games. Michael, hello. Thank you, Karthik. So, yeah, Trevor Benjamin on Monday. And there's a little gap. So last Monday, we had the final prelude episode of the live play Dungeons & Dragons that I'm doing on the channel. Yeah. And it's a super interesting interview. He's a very nice guy, Trevor. And the first prelude, the final prelude episode. And so, in theory, you should have the first actual play with everyone at the table playing D&D, but unfortunately, no one's in fucking town at the moment. So we're going to have to wait until people get back, which is fine. So I might do something to fill in. I've got a horror journaling RPG, so I think I might do that as a stopgap. Yeah, so there's that. Last week's video on the channel, if you haven't watched it yet, is 5 games for nihilists, and I thought it was quite good, and people seem to enjoy it. It did reasonably well. Tomorrow, I'm filming Thursday's video, which is 5 games for hedonists, which is going to be fun, and there's lots of jokes about cocks and that. And because I am nothing if not a huge child. So yeah, and lots of other stuff. I'm still writing my LaRiaCon video, which I filmed loads of stuff while I was out there, so I'm going to write a sort of essay about LaRiaCon, and that'll go up on the channel. And I'm planning to do loads of stuff. I'm interviewing someone who wrote the Ticket to Ride cookbook soon, which will be interesting. And I'm interviewing someone who wrote another textbook about board games. So it's all good stuff, and that'll be on the news show. So as with these streams, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in chat. I've only decided on 3 songs for tonight, so if you have a song recommendation that you'd like me to play, pop that in the chat, and if I know it, I shall attempt to play it. And yeah, so I got some questions from the Discord. And as I say, if you want to join the Discord, you can go to the website, 5gfd.com, click on the pinned post. There'll be an invitation to the Discord, and you can go on the Discord and you can chat with everyone there. It's a very active community, and you can also ask me questions for the live stream and the news show and all of that sort of stuff. So let's go with the questions. So the first question is fascinating. The first question is, and I'm going to pop this into the chat, and I think someone was trolling me, but in the spirit, I always say I will answer any question you ask me. So in this spirit, I will answer the question. And the question is, why should NATO be increasing support to Ukraine? So, I'm not an expert on politics, though I have opinions on things. So why should NATO be increasing support to Ukraine? Well, the easy answer to that is clear. I'm just standing my guitar up. The easy answer to that is clear. That NATO are behind the victory, are behind Kabuki Kid. Hello. So NATO are behind a Ukrainian victory in Russia, and they consider an increase of support of material and all of that to be crucial to the victory against Russia in the Ukraine. So that's why NATO, to fulfill their aims, they should increase support. But I guess that's not the reason. That's not the intention of the question. The intention of the question is, should they? I guess, should they be increasing support, and do you consider it morally necessary? And the point is, I think from various perspectives, it's a very good idea. So on a basic moral notion, clearly they should. Ukraine was invaded by Russia illegally. They have committed terrible war crimes over there, and they are seeking, and a bloodthirsty dictator is seeking sovereignty over a country that isn't his, over a populace that doesn't want him, essentially. So morally, of course, you have to do what you can to prevent that. And, you know, having spoken to Ukrainian people in Berlin, it is fascinating. It is fascinating that basically, essentially, I've spoken to some refugees from the Ukraine, and from one day to the next, they lost everything. You know, the Russian invasion happened. They decided to leave the country. They hopped on a bus and they came to Berlin with a bag of clothes. And what is so stark about that is we have countries around the world in which the seem unstable, in which this is not a surprise. The thing about the Ukraine is that this is a country that people went on holiday to, a stable European country that from one day to the next became a war zone. And you shouldn't have more affinity for that. I know you shouldn't, but you just naturally do. And it was shocking, you know, a war in mainland Europe. So on a moral standpoint, you should do everything you can to prevent Putin winning the war. On a purely pragmatic viewpoint, for Western liberal values, for democracy, you want to stop Putin in his tracks. So you want to stop Putin? You want to draw a red line and say no to Putin. But that doesn't just talk to Putin. That also speaks to Xi in China. Because if we allow Putin to take Ukraine, firstly, where does he stop? Who knows? He could decide it's Poland next. He could decide it's Finland next, for God's sake, you know. But also, if we allow him just to take Ukraine, then Xi Jinping in China may think, well, I can take Taiwan. The West aren't going to do anything. There is no threat to me. I can just go in and take sovereign countries. And increasing the budget, standing by Ukraine is not only the moral thing to do, it's the pragmatic thing to do. if you believe in Western liberal values, if you believe in democracy, if you believe that there is something inherently good about Western liberal society, then I think it's both pragmatically and morally incumbent upon you, is I guess what I'm saying. And I happened. So the interview I did with, oh God, excuse me, I just can't remember his name. I'm terrible with names. Give me a second. Give me just a second. I really need to improve my website. It's not very good. Good guests on this podcast, though. Fred Serval. The interview I did with Fred Serval, we talked about Marxism and we talked about democracy, and I think I was very clear that I think the fundamental USP for democracy is that if you hate the bastards, you can vote them out, and I think that's absolutely vital. And I think, yeah, good guy. I don't think we agree on politics, though, particularly, which is a good point, because you don't need to agree on politics to think someone's a good person. You can have a plurality of beliefs. But I'm very much a believer in democracy, and I'm also very much a believer in a vibrant democracy that has a plurality of views, because any mono culture will result in the greater excesses of a monoculture. So if you have something that is a liberal center-left culture, which is basically where I stand on the political divide, and it's only that, it will gradually become more authoritarian, it will gradually become more dogmatic. You need the other side pulling against to prevent the dogma. So yes, that's why, I think. I had a circle of friends with both Taiwanese and Chinese friends. These are interesting. I'm sure they were. And this is why I've been growing, and I don't know whether it's because I get older. As I get older, I become more empathetic. I don't know whether that's the case, but I find myself more and more sympathetic to people of all political beliefs in many cases, and societal viewpoints. I may not agree with them, but the point is, in certain situations, like what chance do you have if you grow up in an environment? There are going to be 14, 15-year-old Russian kids now who are going to be hugely nationalistic based upon the propaganda of the Russian state, right? Maybe the internet is a bulwark against that. That's the hope. So if you go and listen to the 5 Games for Doomsday podcast where Fred is on, Fred does a spirited defense of Marxism and essentially stands Marxism as opposed to democracy. And he makes arguments that I disagree with, but I think it was a very interesting conversation. So I'm not going to try and paraphrase Fred here. You should go back and listen to it. It's very interesting, and he has some interesting points that I don't agree with, and that does not in any way diminish my respect or affection for him in any way. I think he's a very nice guy. We disagree on everything. It just seems to be, if you disagree on politics, the extremity of contempt is strong, and I think that's probably to do with social media more than anything. And you're right, the upcoming US election is going to be a do or die moment from Ukraine. I am constantly bamboozled by the fact that anyone could think Trump is good for anything. If Trump gets in, it presages a very dark few years for the world. So, this was another question I got, and it's about games. And the question is, what is perfection? And they were talking about games. And I think it was Richard Norkel, and he was saying something about finding it difficult to judge a game 10 on the BGG scale. And, he posed the question, what is perfection? And there has been, so I think critique about board games is in a nascent state, right? It is, relatively speaking, quite a new thing. It's funny that computer games became considered an art form very, very quickly. And board games have taken much longer to assume that. And we're not quite there yet, but you're seeing people like Dan Thoreau, critique as opposed to reviews, right? But there's often discussion about objectivity in critique in board games. And I think that's the most fatuous thing that you can ask for. You can't ask for objectivity. The fact that it's coming through the pen of a human being means it's not objective. Even if you got AI to write it, it's based on scraping the internet. It's not objective. The point is, I often think if you like something, what you do is you like it, and then your reasons for liking it are essentially a retrofit onto a feeling that was developed independent of language. I think the feeling when you're playing games often tap into that same sort of feeling when you're listening to music. What music does to you is not verbal. It is not lexical. And games aren't either. So you play a game, you love it, and then you retrofit an argument as to why you think you love it. You go back, you work backwards from the loving it as to the why you're loving it, right? And I think that's valid, but it can never be objective. The point is, critique is never objective, even if it is, very dry, very academic critique, not sort of reviews in that sense. It's never going to be objective. It's just an impossibility. So I don't think you should ever search for objectivity. And I think what is perfection, he was talking about not being able to give games a 10. And I think what's fascinating is I think it's a very Platonic sort of thought, right? That you're imagining this ideal of a game that doesn't exist, that it is this ideal of perfection that you can never strive towards because perfection is unattainable, because it's a Platonic ideal. It doesn't actually exist in the real world. It is something, and everything else is a facsimile of this ideal game. And I don't think that's true. I think perfection can be as simple as what is perfect for you in this present moment. That game you play, and it often happens when I play Le Havre, which I think is a perfect game. That feeling that you get when you are in the middle of playing and it's all adrenaline, excitement, being engrossed. The game is so beautifully designed that it runs itself. You don't need to look at the rule book, and you're just constantly manipulating things. And it is just perfection. Perfection can be, I think, Telestrations. I would give Telestrations a 10 on Board Game Geek. I think Telestrations is a perfect game. It is, as long as you, and this features in my video tomorrow, as long as you don't use the cards or use any of the scoring, just pick your own words and do it. I always have a wonderful experience with Telestrations, especially after a couple of drinks. It is, and so perfection is not this one perfect state. Perfection is many, many different things. Perfection is what feels perfect to you at the time, I think. And it is ephemeral as everything. Everything is ephemeral. Perfection is ephemeral, I guess. As far as reviews, do you find the idea of repetitive IMO cloying and superfluous? Clever swine. Howdy. I have arguments about this all the bloody time with people. I know people in the reviewing sphere, and sometimes we talk about reviews. And the one thing, so firstly, if you're writing a review, You don't need, it's redundant to write in my opinion, because it's clearly your bloody opinion. Who else's opinion is it? You know what I mean? Unless you're quoting someone, it's clearly your opinion. So it's superfluous, it's a waste of time. Secondly, I think it's possibly born out of, if you're writing reviews of games and you've been doing it for a while, you've met a lot of people in the industry. If you've been to Essen, I've got a lot of friends in the board game industry. And sometimes you end up reviewing people you know's games. That was a good sentence, wasn't it? You end up writing games made by people you know. There we go. And sometimes you review games by people you know and you don't like them. And I think people feel awkward about saying my friend's game was shit. That's the job, I'm afraid. That is the job. The thing is, if you release something into the world, then you have to take criticism with it. I think I spoke about this last week, but there is a very notable designer who's very angry with me and is refusing to do anything with my podcast because I gave one of their games a bad review. I think it's unremittingly childish, frankly. And people talk about, so there's that, and also the nature. So if I wrote board game reviews for The Guardian and they were getting 100,000 reads, 100,000 clicks, page impressions, right? There's no board game publisher in the world, even if I'd written bad reviews about their games, that would say, I'm not sending you a review copy of our game because you did a negative review of the last one, because, that kind of publicity is huge. And that happens for movies, that happens for books, that happens for music. It doesn't really happen for board games. Everyone's pretty much a sort of one-man band. And so also people are worried that if they slag off a game, that the publisher is going to say no. And unfortunately, in this industry, that might well be the case. It's distinctly possible, which is a shame, but nevertheless, it is a thing. Again, it's the job. And so people try to sneak in their negative criticism. They try and do a sort of a tentative negative criticism by saying things like, this isn't for me, but it may be for you. No, sometimes things are shit, and you have to say so. And the point is, I'm not saying you have to agree with me. What I'm doing is I'm making a statement, then I'm making a series of arguments to back up that statement. Hopefully, you think that has sense. That doesn't mean you have to agree with me. I mean, these are not objective things. Reviews are not objective things. And so the idea, and I get why people do it. They're scared. They're scared of offending people. They're scared of the review copies drying up. They're scared, frankly, of going to a convention and bumping into the designer whose games they said was shit 2 weeks ago. Most people I've dealt with in this industry are very good about it if you write a negative review. So this one designer who's very angry with me, the illustrator of the game, I happen to know, and wrote a jokey message to me after my review came out. And it was very nice. And we're not in any way awkward with each other. They're a very nice guy. I'm using neutral pronouns to try and conceal identities as much as possible. Because also, I think what's vital, and the internet, social media has made us forget this. So we feel like we have to call people out in public. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Most things people say to you, and you have to remember this, are off the record, right? If I tell you something, if we're face-to-face at a convention, and you go on fucking Twitter and tweet it, that is an absolute abuse of trust. So that's why I have a brilliant Martin Wallace story, and to ever hear the Martin Wallace story, you have to see me in person, because I won't do it on the internet. All right, so one more question. Okay. This is a good one. What makes a game extremely annoying? I'm designing a game at the moment. I had a play test of my game design. I'm designing it with a friend. I had a play test of my game design last night, and it was all right. I mean, not great. I had a chat with my design partner today, and we decided on a new rule which might make it brilliant. But and apropos of that, what makes a game extremely annoying? I think what makes a game extremely annoying is if the game incentivizes you to do the thing that is not fun. That there's cool things to do, but the obvious way to win the game is to do the boring, repetitive thing over and over again. That is the biggest crime I think a game can make. A game should encourage you to solve a puzzle. A game should encourage you to go on a journey. A game should not encourage you to hit a Skinner box because you know things are going to come out. And there are games that do that. And I haven't played it since we played it once, and I took exception to it. I took such exception to it. I was angry in the first turn. But the one game, and this is by a guy who has designed one of my favorite games, and this was Gugong. I found Gugong just encouraged you, incentivized you to do the boring thing every turn because it just yielded more. And I find that really tedious. I hated it. And I haven't played it since. And I said to Steve that I would, so I will. And I'm sure I won't enjoy it again. Your Joel Toppin interview was really interesting. You're an excellent interviewer. Thank you, Clever Swine. If you haven't heard many of the other interviews, just go to the website. Almost everyone in the industry has been interviewed at this point. There's some great, and it's really not me. It's the guest. I simply help the guest be interesting. They're the ones you should be listening to, not me. For me, the annoying thing is when a game disincentivizes engaging the central theme or motif. For example, not building when the game... Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. This game I'm designing at the moment is... I'm coming up with ideas and I'm thinking, are these thematic? Do they feel like you should be doing what you're doing? And the game is very abstracted, right? It's a short 20, 30-minute card game, so it's never going to be deeply... Although... What is that game called? I can't remember. There's a brilliant thematic card game about being waitresses in a 50s diner that is just absolutely perfect and massively thematic. One of the most thematic games ever made. And it's just cards and tokens. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, you need to be doing what the game... This is Steve's big criticism of Scythe. And I see his criticism. I'm not quite as vehement as him. But the game promises something that it doesn't deliver. It promises, a big, attacking, nasty, confrontational game, and it fundamentally isn't. And I don't think it's as good a farming game as Agricola, and I don't think it's as good a combat game as Chaos in the Old World. And so it falls between stools. I've been a fan since COVID, and I've heard loads of your interviews. Good. Thank you for listening. It's you lot that make this possible. Okay. Well, that's the questions. If you've got any other questions, pop them down in the chat. Now, I'm going to play another song. What glasses? I don't know what you are talking about. Spreading malicious rumors. All right. Since you embarrassed me in public, so I went to the opticians the other day. I've never worn glasses in my life. But I felt, I'm not getting any younger. So I went to the opticians and I had an eye test. And actually, my eyes are pretty good, but I do need glasses. And so I got some glasses. And these are my glasses. And I'm not wearing them on a bloody live stream. This is my public persona. Ben in public does not wear glasses. But... I've never worn glasses in my life, and these are varifocals, and I'm having a terrible time getting used to them. So, yeah. Public Ben, he doesn't wear glasses. All right, so, play another song. I don't play this one very well. I just like it a lot. So I re-listened to This Year's Model by Elvis Costello the other day. I'd love to hear you chat with the dude from Board Game Bollocks. Oh yes, I do know that guy. Yeah. I should get in contact with him actually. He's very popular, isn't he? Maybe I should swear more in my videos. So if you've ever listened to This Year's Model by Elvis Costello, it is one of the all-time great albums, and this is one of the songs on it, and it's great. And I'm going to do no justice to it whatsoever. Little triggers you pull with your tongue. Little triggers, I don't want to get hung up, strung up when you don't call up. Little sniggers on your lips. Little triggers in your grip. Little triggers, my hand on your hair. Thinking about those censored sequences, worrying about the consequences. Wait until I come to my senses. Better put it all in present tenses. Little triggers you pull with your tongue. Little triggers, I don't want to get hung up, strung up when you don't call up. Little sniggers on your lips. Little triggers in your grip. Little triggers, my hand on your hair. Worrying about the common decency when it is only a question of frequency. When you say, okay, but I got a cheek to bear. Saying you're tired of me when you don't even weaken these. Little triggers you pull with your tongue. Little triggers, I don't want to get hung up, strung up when you don't call up. Little sniggers on your lips. Little triggers in your grip. Little triggers, my hand on your hair. It's a tune. I'm going to just tune my guitar. I think it's all right. The A string's a bit flat. G string's a bit flat. No, I'm trying. Come on. Lovely. Yeah, Elvis Costello, This Year's Model. It is an absolutely brilliant album. It is so good. It's a real sort of hybrid between pop and punk. It's just brilliant. Try some NHS specs like Morrissey. I mean, these are kind of NHS specsy. They've got the sort of frames. That's not quite so blatantly NHS specsy, are they? Oh my God, I can see everything now. It's amazing. All right, so I'm going to have a bit of a rank in public. Love having a rank. Getting it out, having a rank in public. My brain, that is, when I say getting it out. So I've got to share it. I always forget to do that. So here we go. Share screen. Create single to your playlist. Share that. Lovely. Sharing. Take that off. Gotta do that. Lovely. Cool, blimey, governor. Here we go. So this is a good shelf this week. This is a really great shelf. There are some solid gold masterpieces on this shelf. And as what I'm going to do is my theory of reviewing. I'm going to make a statement, and then I'm going to corroborate that statement with following sub-statements. First one, Carcassonne. Absolute bloody masterpiece. This is a fascinating one because of the big three, Ticket to Ride, Catan, Carcassonne, this is the one that pops up the most with designers. This is the one that pops up the most on the podcast. Designers talking about how much they love Carcassonne. I think it is even base game. People say base game Carcassonne, you need something to add to it. I disagree. I think it is absolutely brilliant. I adore this game. I have the winter edition just because I wanted it. to play it in winter once. I think the game is perfect. I think it is. It has that wonderful thing that if you're really experienced, you can play in a really strategic, nasty way. If you're a complete novice, you can play it and pick it up in 2 minutes. This is a perfect design. And what blows my mind is speaking to Klaus-Jürgen Wrede. First game is Carcassonne. Speaking to Klaus-Jürgen Wrede, I got the distinct impression that he published more than one game in the same year as Carcassonne, and I got the distinct impression he didn't think Carcassonne was the best game he published that year, which blows my mind. But I very much believe that you should not trust artists on their own work. They're often wrong. Evelyn Waugh thought that how was it called? His historical novel was his best, and it certainly isn't. I can't remember what it's called. I love Carcassonne the City, brutally OOP. Yeah, everyone says Carcassonne the City is brilliant. I haven't played it. I should. That's Knizia does Carcassonne, right? I'm sure it's great. City of Remnants. Now, I am going to give this a solid AF. Now, many people here watching this might not know what City of Remnants is. This is the first design by Isaac Vega, designer of Ashes, co-designer of Dead of Winter, various games. He owns... Carcassonne the Castle was Knizia. And he owns that company, does the H games. Can't remember what they're called offhand. City of Remnants is his first game. It is a really fun dudes on a map game, but you can tell it is you can tell it's a first design. It's very clunky, but I love it. It was one of those games, one of those first games I bought, and I have a real affection for it, though I haven't played it in ages. The city is the one where you build a wooden wall around the city. Yeah. I thought that was Knizia, but it isn't. And everyone says it's amazing, and I would love to play it. Couldn't have been that successful, though. It's really funny, isn't it? Because everyone says it's brilliant, and then it's not successful for some reason. Clearly not successful enough to keep in print. Weird. Friday. Now, I think Friday is a masterpiece, but it's not better than bloody Carcassonne. The castle is specifically for 2 players. Oh, fascinating. I might look into getting that. Friday, I think, is brilliant. It is... So it's brilliantly thematic. It is and the story that it tells, that Robinson Crusoe's an idiot and you're Friday and you're trying to just stop Robinson Crusoe from killing himself, is funny. The art is great. Often Freedom and Freezer, the art can be a bit ropey, but it's perfect for this one. That sort of slightly childlike art. The game is really good. It's really hard. It's a deck builder, and it's a legitimate deck builder that plays with one person. This is a really great game. If you only have one solo game in your collection, I would recommend Friday. It's absolutely brilliant. One of the first purely solo games I ever bought. It was the first purely solo game I ever bought, and it's brilliant. And I played it. The last time I played it was during plague times, and I'd got the lurgy, and so just as I was recovering, I got a couple of solo games, and I played Nemo's War and I played Friday. I think Friday is a better game. I think I prefer Nemo's War, though. Warhammer Disc Wars. I'm going to put this here. So Warhammer Disc Wars is a really cool game. It's a sort of miniatures game. It's a miniatures game, but it's just on discs, and you flip the discs for movement, and it has all the values on the disc. It's a really cool idea. I think it's an old game that got re-implemented for Warhammer Fantasy back in 2013. I think it's a really good idea, but the problem is with this game is you need a gaming table to play it on. Otherwise, when you flip the discs, they slide and movement. It's really practically difficult to play this bloody game unless you've got a gaming table. And a lot of people don't have. I don't have a gaming table. So I think it's a solid game. It's when Fantasy Flight were really good, sort of turn of the last decade. Really good stuff. Really bloody difficult to play, though. Codenames. This might be the best game on here. Maybe the best game on my shelves. Maybe. In terms of just a perfect design. Although I think his other heavier game I prefer, but Codenames is... And I remember the year... So Gathering is coming up soon. And I remember the year this came out, Vlaada Chvátil took it to the Gathering. And it was just all anyone was talking about. And I think when something gets really huge, it tends to get denigrated. It also tends to get iterated on. I'm not going to say copied. I think it tends to get iterated on. And people prefer the iterations to the original. But I think Codenames, I played this last week. And by the way, never play this in German, because you can cheat really easily in German. Because essentially, in German, you just take nouns and you just slap them together. And that becomes a word. And so basically, Codenames is pointless in German because it's just cheating. You need to play it in English. But I remember playing it when it first came out. Of course, everyone was playing it. Here he is, Costin. Good evening, young man. I remember playing it and just everyone was so enamored with it. It's just brilliant. And it's one of those games that if you play it in the right spirit... Codenames, easy 10 out of 10. Yeah, no question. It's a masterpiece. Yeah, I swear I was just about to ask that. Yeah, they use compound nouns in German. All you do is bloody cheat. It's completely unfair. And if you play it in that spirit where you try and put off the other team and all this, it can be a big party game. It can also be a very thinky, very deliberative thing. I don't care about the picture one particularly. I prefer the words one. I'm a words person rather than a pictures person. 604 games. I mean, I don't have that many, but I've played it a lot. I love it. It's an absolute masterpiece, and it's a revolution. It was a revolution. Yeah, it's understandable. It's understandable. It's brilliant. I wish I was more disciplined in logging my games, actually, to be honest. Nippon is outstanding. I'm friends with Paolo and Nuno, who designed this. And I was friends, though I haven't spoken to them in ages. And I'm not saying I was friends because I'm not friends with them anymore or something. I just haven't spoken to them in ages because they disappeared. Veronica and Mariano from What's Your Game. And yeah, What's Your Game were a fucking brilliant publisher. A brilliant publisher. They published medium-heavy Euro games that were absolutely brilliant. There's 2 of their games on here because I was friends with Mariano and Veronica. They gave me their catalog up until that point. I think it was up until Nippon. They gave me every game that they published, and they even put me in a game. I'm in Loot Island. I'm a card in Loot Island, and it is such a shame. Now, this is not to say that, the whole Madeira thing, it's not to forgive them for the Madeira thing or anything, but it's just a shame that it went wrong with that publisher because they were brilliant. They're just brilliant. Consistent quality across the board. A brilliant publisher, very nice people. I don't know because I haven't seen Mariano in years. I don't know any specifics about what happened to Madeira. But yeah, shame. Nippon, brilliant. Absolutely fantastic game. King of Tokyo. I'm going to put King of Tokyo at outstanding. And that's not because I think King of Tokyo is outstanding. I think if it was just my view on it, I would put solid. But I think objectively, it's such a clever game. And you always expect Richard Garfield to design these big, heavy games, because he was the designer of Magic, right? And actually, he designs very clever, light, accessible games. Bunny Kingdom is also brilliant from him. King of Tokyo is great. It's a very simple. He takes the Yahtzee mechanic and he deploys it brilliantly. It's a really good game, King of Tokyo. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, I haven't played it in ages. Now I think about it. No, I think it is outstanding. I do think it's outstanding. I don't think it's just solid. I think it's really great. I haven't played King of New York, and I don't really care to because I don't think it needed to be complicated and be gamerified. Now, this is interesting. If you'd have asked me this 5 years ago about the Grizzled, I would have put it in Masterpiece. Yeah, I'm sure, not better. And I think time has borne that out. So the Grizzled came out at the time when that poor guy had died in the Charlie Hebdo attacks. And I remember when it came out, it just evoked such feelings. The game was difficult. And what was so beautiful about it? And I think, no, fuck it. I'm putting it in Masterpiece. I'm going to put it here. I think what is so beautiful about the Grizzled is that it is not about the victory of war. It is about simple survival. It isn't about killing. It isn't about national glory. It is about friendship pulling you through the worst situation of your life. It's every aspect of that game is poetic, and it's a beautiful game. And if you go on the podcast feed, you'll find my review of the Grizzled. I think it's one of the best pieces of writing I've ever done, and I was very proud of it. And I'm generally, I think I'm shit. Almost pulled the trigger on buying the Grizzled numerous times. Yes, you should. It's not expensive. It's good. We won our first Grizzled game. Yeah, I mean, respect if you won the first one. I tend to find, unfortunately, with co-op games, it kind of, once you've beaten it, it kind of ruins it. But the Grizzled is beautiful, and I wonder whether at the time, because the guy was killed in the Charlie Hebdo attack, that it kind of made us all a bit more thoughtful about the game in itself. But it is great. Seikatsu. I'm going to put Seikatsu here. This is designed by a close friend of mine, Isaac Shalev, and I think this is his best game by miles. It is a brilliant abstract game. It is, and it's ingenious because it's from your viewpoint. So only you see the configuration of pieces from your viewpoint, and someone else looks at them from another viewpoint. It's a brilliant game. And he was going to have it published by a mainstream publisher at one point, I think, and it didn't happen. Hopefully this gets republished. I think it's being redone by someone, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it, but it is brilliant. Seikatsu. When the new version comes out, and the publisher who's doing it will do a brilliant job of it, get the new version. It's great. Seikatsu. It's a top-notch game. Vodoran Gardens. I'm going to put Vodoran Gardens here. Frank West is a lovely guy, and I think he's a good game designer. And I think he's had two big successes, which was Isle of Cats and City of Kings, his first game. And City of Kings is this big computer video game-like game that for a first design is incredibly audacious. I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot. And Frank understood and understands that production in games is absolutely paramount, and his games have always been produced beautifully. And Isle of Cats is the big success, but Vodoran Gardens is a really good little card game. It's a really good sort of root building little card game that I would highly recommend. If you can find it cheap, pick it up. It's not a waste of money. It's solid. Vodoran Gardens. Fast Shot. I'm going to put Fast Shot here. Now, I assume most people won't have heard of Fast Shot. Fast Shot is a little dexterity game that comes in a little box. Hang on. That comes in a little box like this. And it has little wooden pieces like this. And you have to stand up the little wooden pieces, and you have discs that you flick. And you have to either go around the pieces, or there are game modes, or knock them over, then flick your disc into the horseshoe shape at the end. It is great. I write a really good review of this as well. Another great piece of writing, I think. I'm really yanking my own chain today. And really good, really funny. A little dexterity game that takes 5 minutes to play. I loved it. Right. Now, it's 5-10 in Germany. So I'm going to play my last song now. Because if I play after 10, I'll get noise complaints. So I'm going to play my last song and then rate the rest of my games. And this is quite a long one, actually, but it's a great song. This is by The Cure. I've been looking so long at these pictures of you that I almost believe that they're real. I've been living so long with my pictures of you that I almost believe that the pictures are all I can feel. Remembering you standing quiet in the rain as I ran to your heart to be near. And we kissed as the sky fell in, holding you close. How I always held close to your fear. Remembering you running soft through the night. You were bigger and brighter and wider than snow. And you screamed at the make-believe, screamed at the sky. And you finally found all your courage to let it all go. Remembering you falling into my arms, crying for the death of your heart. You were stone white, so delicate, lost in the cold. You were always so lost in the dark. Remembering you, how you used to be. So drowned, you were angel, so much more than everything. And hope for the last time, and slip away quietly. Open my eyes, but I never see anything. If only I thought of the right words, I could have held on to your heart. If only I thought of the right words, I wouldn't be breaking apart all my pictures of you. Looking so long at these pictures of you, but I never hold on to your heart. Looking so long for the words to be true, but I'm always just breaking apart my pictures of you. There was nothing in the world that I ever wanted more than to feel you deep in my heart. There was nothing in the world that I ever wanted more than to never feel the breaking apart of my pictures of you. always finish on A minor. Best chord to finish a thing with than that. All right. Lovely. Just putting my guitar away. Let's wrap up these games, shall we? Next one. Tzolk'in. Let's put Tzolk'in here, I think. Tzolk'in is an outstanding game. It's not a masterpiece, but it is a solid game. It's really good. It's difficult. The economy is super tight. As you should do. They're an incredible band. The economy is super tight. It is a really good game. Obviously, I was attracted to the cogs, but they're just ephemera. The game itself is very solid. Love it. Skull. Oh, that goes here. This game is brilliant. Most of my non-gamer friends, when they play this, they go, this is brilliant. And they buy copies of it. You shouldn't be embarrassed. You should just, next time you go to a convention, if you go to a convention, find someone to play Tzolk'in with you. It's really good. But Skull is just, it feels like it's a game that's been around for hundreds of years, played in bars. It is brilliant. It's a brilliant design. Of all the games on this list today, this is the one I wish I'd designed. It's fantastic. It is pure genius. Love it. Also haven't played Skull, but I love Liar's Dice. Yeah, I mean, if you love Liar's Dice, you'll love Skull. It's a great game. It's absolutely, I think it's a flawless design. So I'm going to put these two here. First one is Aleph Null by Tony Boydell. These are two solo games to finish on. Aleph Null is fantastic. It is a brilliant real-time solo game that plays in like 15, 20 minutes. Tony is such a great designer. I wish he published more games. It is a really lovely game. And he's doing a trilogy of solo games, and I've played all three of them. I played the prototype of the third one that's coming out. Yeah. So he's definitely publishing one more, and I think it's coming out this year. And I've played the prototype of it, and it's great. And it might be my favorite of the three. But this isn't Aleph Null. This is Lux Eterna. Lux Eterna, really great real-time game. And the art is fantastic. Highly recommend this. And to wrap up, Aleph Null. I think I prefer Aleph Null to Lux Eterna. Again, brilliant game about summoning a demon. And it is replete with Tony's humor and charm. It's a really great game. It's illustrated beautifully. It got a 1-star review on BGG, and the review simply said Satanism. So you've got to get behind that as well. Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Absolutely adore it. They're great games. Tony's a great designer and needs to design more games. All right, there we are. So it's 22:03 in Berlin. Yeah, but they're crap now, aren't they, Metallica? They've been crap since And Justice for All, basically. And Justice for All is brilliant. But, oof. They're crap now, aren't they? God, their 90s phase. Like, give me fuel, give me fire. Wow, crap, that, wasn't it? Anyway, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure to stream for you. It's been a pleasure to play songs and that. Always great. They have still had some moments of genius. They've done 4 albums that were absolutely brilliant. Yeah, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All are fantastic albums. They have the renown they do for a reason. But hard to beat 80s Metallica. It's, yeah, brilliant. I've been listening to a lot of metal recently, and they're very good. Anyway, so yeah, thank you so much. It's great for you to come here. If you want to join the Discord, you can go to 5gfd.com, click on the pin post, and follow the link there. And if you like what I do, whether it's the podcast, whether it's the streaming, whether it's the videos, you can always go to patreon.com/5gfd and help me continue to do this, because, and that, I hate doing the sales pitch, but you got to do it. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope you have lovely weeks. And I'll see you probably on Wednesday next week. But maybe on Tuesday. Maybe I'll do it on Tuesday. Who knows? And I'll see you funky kids at a Später Data.